Okay, now we're moving on to week 5, building relationships with our children. During this week, facilitators address another issue critical to improving the child-father relationship: men's attention to, knowledge of, their children. Men think about how they will know and understand their children. Advantages of knowing the children are emphasized. Potential dangers of lack of knowledge are reviewed. This exercise also challenges the perception of the child as property or an extension of their families or the father. So in this video, we talked about how well men know their children, and we linked this to child-centered parenting. As part of that process, Katrina demonstrated that if fathers don't know their children, they're less likely to anticipate their child's needs or the children's reactions. They are more likely to misinterpret the child's behavior and ignore what the children's needs are, their hopes, or their wishes. We need fathers to see children as independent, autonomous beings who deserve to have their father's respect, their wishes, and their needs. Children naturally wish for involvement, acceptance, and love from their fathers. Because children seek these things, it is almost never too late to start attending more to their needs, wishes, and interests.
So now that we're here, we're in week 5, and we're really in this week trying to think about how well do we know our kids. And so that's why we've gotten you into this small group. All of you have kids who are around school age. And so we've got a set of questions that we're going to go through. And really this is about thinking about, what actually do you know? How well can you get into your kid's head? What's it like, and how well do you know your child? So let's start with the first one. So who wants to start? The first question is, give a little bit of a description of your child. And because we've got you here for school age, we're talking about, well, for you, we're going to talk about Jason?
Johnny.
Oh, sorry, for Johnny. Yeah, and we'll talk about Joy. And for you, we'll talk about
Brianne.
Brianne, perfect. Okay, so who wants to start?
Well, this one about the eye color.
Yeah,
I know that one because he's got the same color of eyes as me, so he's got green eyes.
he's got green eyes.
Yeah.
All right, so Johnny has green eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what kind of, is he a tall kid? Is he average?
About that tall. I mean, I think he's about 4'7" or so.
Okay. All right, so not quite as tall as some of his classmates.
Yeah.
For an 11-year-old, that's a big deal for an 11-year-old boy.
Well, he hasn't really hit his stride in puberty
He
yet. I
hasn't
mean,
hit stride-
he'll probably shoot up at some point. I mean, I did, and
Yeah,
I wasn't very tall as a kid either.
yeah. I just know that for 11-year-olds, when they're the kind of late ones, that can be pretty tough because everybody else is towering over. It's like, wait a second, what's happening to me? But okay, so
Well,
that's what
it
it's
was
like.
it was tough for me.
It was
and,
tough for you.
But yeah,
So that's where he's at.
that's pretty much where he's at.
Yeah. All right. What about you? What?
Brianne?
Yeah.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Surprise. God, I think she's probably 4'2".
Yeah.
She's grade 2, so.
It's great too.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. And what about Joy?
Joy, brown hair, black eyes. She's maybe this tall.
Hmm. Yeah. So she's a little taller than some of her classmates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's tall.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what they look like. So now let's talk a little bit more about who your kids are. So the next question is, what are your child's favorite toys and games? So can you tell me one thing that, what would Joy, if she had an hour, what would she do
Joy is always on her iPad.
on her iPad? And what does she play on her iPad?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Always so busy on it.
Just
Yeah.
something on
Yeah.
the iPad. Okay. What about Brianne?
She loves to play sort of home with her twin, with the twins. So
Yeah.
She's got a little oven set and a bake set that she'll make them little tea parties, and so no, she likes that. She's very much likes her home as it should be. So it's nice. It's fun.
That's cool. And does she play does she have a place in your house where she has that all set up?
Oh, absolutely, in her room.
In her room.
She's got a little tea set and her little chairs that are really uncomfortable to sit in.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so you have supervised visits with her now, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And this play set's in her room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there something that she likes to do in her visits with you?
It's not an issue for me to go in there as long as my mother-in-law is in the background. So, we can go in there,
Yeah.
and she can. We can do that. We can play in the backyard. We can do anything as long as she's in the background.
Okay. So you're saying that you really want the mother-in-law to be in the background.
No, I'm not. I think she's an absolute pain. I mean, I can't play with my kids unless my mother-in-law is there and telling me how to play with them. So
Right, okay, no, I understand. So I think I understand. Anyways, you're saying because she's supervising, right? So she has to be there, keeping an eye on things. And you're saying that what you like best is when the two of you have time without her.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What does Brianne like best? Is there anything that you know that Brianne likes when you have visits together, supervised by your
With
mother?
me?
Yeah.
We basically do everything we can. I mean, we sit and we'll read some books, we'll play.
Yeah.
It's never the same as being alone with her because there's nothing free and spontaneous because she's always in the background. So, yeah.
So you feel like you really can't do the kinds of things that you usually can.
There's a cloud overhanging us, absolutely, because she's in the background.
Okay.
And I mean, Brianne hears her criticizing and telling, and so.
Okay, we'll come to back to that in a little bit. So what about for Johnny? What are some of the things he likes to do? I know he has a lot of chores. What does he like to do when he's not doing his chores?
Well, I think I mentioned before that like he likes video games as any kid that age does, but most of the time I can find him out back at the barn. We got a hockey net set up,
Yeah.
and just by himself.
Yeah.
You know, he can stay back there for hours just taking shots at that net. So.
Yeah. All right. So here's a quick one. Let's go to question 4. If it was your child's birthday tomorrow, what would they want? So what would Johnny want for his birthday?
Prep. I can't go wrong with getting him like another cartridge for his Xbox.
So a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah. What would Joy want for her birthday?
It's a very hard question. Maybe clothes.
Maybe clothes.
Yeah. But my wife will know.
Your wife would know.
100% sure.
Yeah, but you wouldn't necessarily. No,
I don't know.
you don't know. Yeah. Do you know what Brianne would want for her birthday?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the presents she always gets every year is a larger doll that can be included with her tea party people.
Right.
So that's every year she gets at least that. So
Yeah.
so she loves that because she looks forward to that
Yeah.
that doll.
You have really fond memories of this tea set as well,
Oh,
and
it's
her
fun.
playing with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's go down to question. Let's go question 5. What do they like to do most with their mom? So what does Joy love to do with her mom?
Both my daughters and mom always, braiding the hair. They
They like-
change the
yeah?
hairstyle.
So they like to do that
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about Brianne? What does Brianne like to do with her mom?
She's always liked to be in the kitchen with her mom. Her mom was a cook, so she has some fun. So she likes to do some baking and some cooking and some. It's playtime. It's not always edible, but sometimes she enjoys that.
She does. Let's do just one more question. Let's do, what do you think is the most recent disappointment for your child? What's the most recent disappointment for Johnny? Something that made him feel sad, disappointed.
He was trying out hockey.
Yeah,
He was trying out for the travel team, and he didn't get picked.
and he didn't get picked.
I
Wait.
think it had to do with the size, actually. He wasn't as big enough, fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because that happens at that age, right?
It
when
does.
the
It
different
does.
puberty comes along. Yeah. And what about for Brianne? What was her most recent disappointment?
That I wasn't allowed to be at her concert because her mother was in the room and her mother wouldn't step back.
Yeah. So you were certainly disappointed about that. Was that her biggest disappointment?
She was very disappointed.
She was disappointed about that as well. Okay. What about Joy? No, you don't know. Her mom would know.
Yeah.
Her mom would know. Okay.
Yeah, her mom.
So let's. I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about these answers. And I want to think about them with the parent to child-centered continuum. Okay, so we're in week 5, and we're thinking about how well we know our kids. And so what we're going to do is we're going to think about our kids' identifications. When I say our kids' identifications, what I mean, how would they describe themselves? What's important to them? Who are they when they have their little dialogues with themselves? So for you can think about your identification. So who would you identify? If somebody said, "Who are you?" in 2 words, what would you say?
A farmer.
You're a farmer, yeah. So that's what your identification would be, that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I had to say one more, what would you say?
A man.
Cool. Right, do you understand what I mean by their identifications? So that's the same thing for your kids. What do you think your children's identifications are? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of a little circle here and then some bigger circles. And you can tell me for your kids if it's really close to them. So for you, being a farmer was pretty close. That comes up right away.
Yeah.
But there might be something, you live in a particular community and that might be important to you, but not as important as being a farmer. So what about for your kids? What do you think your kids identify with? What's really important to your kids?
Brianna's 7, so she goes from princess to baker to mother to clown. I think she's your typical little girl.
A little girl, yeah.
So what she identifies with, she's a little girl, but there are days she's a princess. There's days that she's not.
Right, so you might be switching around.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused on what you're saying and what she identifies with because she's so little.
Because we think about this as something for kids that are older. But even younger kids as well have a sense of who they are and what they do. So for example, for a 5-year-old might think of themselves, or let's use your age. So for Brianne, she might think of herself as a 7-year-old as somebody who, is somebody who works hard in school, or somebody who likes soccer, or somebody who likes to play outside, or somebody who likes to play on her iPad. So what do you think she would describe herself as? Even though, it wouldn't be quite the same as you have identifications.
Joy would be Chinese Canadian.
She would identify as Chinese Canadian?
A girl. She got good grades. She's a 90 plus student.
Yeah. So what do you think would be, of all those things, so Chinese Canadian, a girl, and A+ student, where do you think those would go? Which one do you think is most important to her?
Well, I think her 90% is very, very close to her
90%.
identity.
How do you know?
Because she studies very hard. She's
She
always
studies hard.
studying, and she always try to get higher grades.
Yep.
She's good at the piano too, so maybe piano too. She works very hard to play.
Yeah. Okay, where about, she also said she's a girl.
Yes,
How close to here do you think that is? She's a girl.
she's a girl.
Yeah. What about being Chinese Canadian?
See,
Same. I guess the question I'm asking you is how important do you think that is to her? What does it mean for her to be Chinese Canadian?
a very difficult question. I don't know. She lives in Canada now, so
Yeah.
she's born in Canada. It's a little bit different. For me, when I come here to Canada, it's different for her. So
Yeah.
she can speak English very well.
Yep.
And so
Yeah, so my guess is for you, being Chinese Canadian is probably kind of right near the center. Yeah.
yes,
And
my culture is very important.
Yeah.
Important to me.
do you think it's the same place for her?
Oh yes, very important.
You think
because,
that's-
yeah, we practice our culture at home, so so she doesn't forget, where
Yeah.
she come from.
So right, so because it's really important and it's part of your self-identification. I guess what I'm trying to get at is if she was describing herself and if she was telling you who she was, would that be really center for her self-identification too? And how do you know?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. But maybe something worth exploring. Because sometimes our identifications as parents and our kids' identifications are different. Any thoughts about Brienne or about Johnny, about now that we've kind of explored this a little bit more, about what their identifications might be?
She identifies as a little girl.
Yeah?
But little boys can also be little girls, and little girls can be little boys because they always play together, so it doesn't really matter to her right now.
So being a girl and like having only girl things is not maybe as important to her.
She's very much a girly girl.
She
so
is a
she
girl.
does. But again, we've got, I mean, I play Tea Party with her. She's got the neighbor boys play Tea Party with her, so it's not necessarily, she is a little girl. I mean, she knows she's a
Yeah.
little girl. She's blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yep.
She
Yep,
identifies
so she's a
herself
girl.
as a dolls.
Yeah. Okay.
I think in many cases she's probably a little mother too. She's always, I mean, when I look at that, she's the tea parties and the baking. So
You know what? I love the affection that you're showing in your voice when you're talking to her about that, when you're talking about playing Tea Party and we're talking about who she is and how she likes to be that. You can really feel how much care that you have and how much joy you have in her kind of growing up into who she is, even if it's kind of Tea Party or playing with boys or playing with girls.
well, good, you can tell CAS that then.
Yeah, well, and you can imagine it being different, right? Because you can imagine if a little girl wanted to dress up like a little boy or play boy games, sometimes that's not okay in families, right? So it's lovely to hear you talk about her like that. So what we're doing here now is we've talked a lot about the ways to know your child and thinking about your child and what it's like to be them. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at these relationship building challenges, because we've talked about how all of these things are important, because if we want to be child-centered in our parenting, we have to know our kids. We have to be able to be with them. So if you look through these relationship building challenges, I want to ask you to reflect on whether any of them are tough for you. Which ones are harder for you as a parent to do? Who wants to start?
You want me to pick one, or maybe more than one?
Well, there might be more than one. Maybe start by picking one to share with the group.
The bottom one. Support my child's mother without conflict.
That's hard for you to do.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. And that's important, right? Because when we aren't able to do that, then we're running into trouble with child-centered parenting, because our kid is inevitably in the middle of that. Yeah.
Right now, because I can't talk to her mother and I can't see the kids without the grandmother, I think supporting my child's relationship with the mother is, I mean, I can't do that right now because I can't talk to her mother. I can't be in the same room as her mother right now.
So that's the one that you
I think
identify as
that's-
most
right
difficult.
now, absolutely, that's it.
Yeah. What about you?
Spend long periods of time alone with my child or children. Like I've got a bunch of kids, but I just don't have that kind of time to spend long periods of time with them.
Yeah.
It's just not available.
You just don't have the time. But if you had a long period of time, do you feel like that would be fine? You'd fill that time, or would it feel a little uncomfortable?
Oh, it wouldn't be uncomfortable, but it just doesn't exist. I mean,
just doesn't exist.
Sure, win the lottery and sell the farm, and
Okay.
yeah, I'd spend all kinds of time with my kids, but it's just not how things
Okay,
are.
so that's great. So can you think about another one that might be in your current life?
Yeah. Apologize to my child when I'm wrong.
Apologize when you're wrong.
I
Okay.
find that very tough.
All right. And so we talked about how these challenges and being able to do these things are important. So let's just spend a couple minutes, and your homework is going to be to really think about this. Let's spend a couple minutes talking about what is it that we could do to start to overcome those challenges. And I'm wondering if we can pick up on your example for a second. We'll maybe give them some ideas and then we'll go around. So your example was, since you're not seeing Brienne's mom, that
I'm not allowed to be in the room with her, yes.
you're not allowed to see her, that it's hard to support your kid's relationship with her. Now, what I just want you to hear for a second is some examples. How might you support a child's relationship with their mom, even if you're not in the same room? What might you do to support that?
Well, don't talk ill of her mom when she's with you.
Right, so not talking badly about the mom when they're with you, that's a parent-centered behavior, right? Because that makes the kid feel bad, right? What else could you do to support the kid's relationship with their mom? So that's not to speak badly. So what's on the other side of that?
The opposite end of that is to speak nice about her. I mean, I've heard what you've had to say, and you don't have a very good relationship with Brianne's mom at all, but certainly could find some way to say something nice about her, I think.
Do you have any thoughts?
Maybe do something nice for the mother.
Maybe do something nice for mom? Okay, but you can't see her.
But what if, Mother's Day's coming up and you take Brianne shopping for something for her mother?
Like
Yes.
maybe buy something or food, maybe some food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some food.
Yeah.
It's just an idea.
So I think just some things to think about, where you're right, you can't see her, but there are ways that you can support your daughter's relationship with her and sort of recognize that her relationship with her mom is important. So how can we see for Brianne, how can you see that her relationship with her mom's important? And how can you support the importance of that relationship? So how can you recognize that for her, spending time with her mom's important, something that she likes, and something that she does.
Other important aspects of this week, in terms of building children's relationship, is looking at attitudes that are expressed by the fathers related to children as property. Facilitators should be alert to indications that men see the children as property or extensions of themselves. Facilitators should prompt men to view the children as independent, autonomous people. Viewing children as autonomous is essential if the men are going to develop a greater understanding of and empathy for their children. Additionally, we need to pay attention to and include mothers in these discussions. Mothers may be brought into the identification exercise by having men reflect on how the children's identity is also shaped by their mothers. Make the point that to know and understand their children, fathers also need to appreciate and understand other important relationships in their children's lives, particularly their relationship with their mother.